million jobs. It's based on a simple proposition. Reward hard work in America, not wealth. It's time to invest in infrastructure, clean energy, climate change, manufacturing, and so much more that will create millions of good-paying jobs. It's time we address the structural inequities in our economy that this pandemic has laid bare. Economists call this current economy in recovery K-shaped. Well, like the two lines coming off of a K, some people are seeing their prospects soar upward, while others are watching their economic prospects drop sharply. For those at the top, jobs have come back, and their wealth is rising. For example, luxury home sales are up over 40% compared to last year. But for those in the middle and the bottom, it's a downward slide. They're left figuring out how to pay the bills and put food on the table. Almost 1 in every 6 renters was behind in rent payments as of October.
Wow.
Let me be clear. With this team and others, we'll add in the weeks ahead that we're going to create a recovery for everybody, for all. We're going to get this economy moving again. We're going to create jobs, raise incomes, reduce drug prices, advance racial equity across the economy, and restore the backbone of this country, the middle class. Our message to everybody struggling right now is this: help is on the way.
That's a far cry from "I've done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. I'm the least racist person you know."
Believe me.
It's a far cry from hey, let's do a tax cut and give $2 trillion to mostly corporations and very wealthy people. This is serious. This is a serious plan for something that we have needed in this country since 2008. Okay, a stimulus package. We had one when Barack Obama first became president because we also elected a Democratic House and Senate. We don't have that anymore. And unless, Georgia. It all comes down to freaking Georgia. We have a special election on January 5th in Georgia. And that special election, which I have been telling you about since, 3 days after Election Day, right? And we got the results and found out there was going to be a runoff between 2 people, 2 Senate seats were going into a runoff scenario, and that could tip the balance of power to the Democrats in the Senate. It would be 50-50, but with Kamala Harris being the vice president and all, and the vice president being the president of the Senate and getting to cast a vote, it would be 51-50, and we would be able to get this agenda passed, this money out the door. It could happen. We could see wages increase. We could see there are some things he could do through executive order, like I believe that Joe Biden, with the stroke of a pen, could wipe out $50 billion worth of student loan debt. So there's a lot that he can do that way. But as far as Infrastructure Week, my God, it's been Infrastructure Week for 4 years and we never had the bill, right? The CARES Act has been passed and sitting in the House, the Democratic House, since May. And we're not going to get vaccines till June. So it's going to be a year and a month of living through this, of living through losing jobs. And then think of this. If you could go to a restaurant because we actually have a vaccine and we actually have achieved enough vaccinations to get the herd immune, okay, and you now can go to a restaurant, question, can you afford to go to a restaurant? You see what I mean? And that's how the economy rolls. That's how America rolls. If you got money to go to a restaurant and you're feeling like it's safe to go to a restaurant on top of it, then you go to a restaurant. If it's not safe to go to a restaurant, plus now you can't afford to go to a restaurant, that's where we are. That's where we are. And so none of this can happen without us having the Senate. And none of the Senate can, we can't have the Senate unless we have success in Georgia. In Georgia. Now, that's why yesterday it was fun stuff, to tell you that the GOP is eating its own. with all these fraud claims, okay, that Trump is doing, and now we can clearly see why he's doing all this claiming of fraud. Oh, just by the way, today, Attorney General Bill Barr, yes, that Bill Barr, told the Associated Press that there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. He can't find anything that would change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. That's number one. He sat down with the Associated Press and he told the Associated Press that U.S. attorneys and the FBI have been working diligently to follow up on any complaints, any information that they've received, but they have uncovered zero evidence of any fraud that would change the outcome of the election, okay? And so all of this filing and all of this assertion of fraud is because Donald Trump has realized that Trump's supporters will support him financially for the rest of his life. He can sell things to them. He can also hit them up for donations right now while the sun is still out for him, as long as wackadoodles like Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell go out there and keep on filing lawsuits and keep on wasting the court's time and keep on insinuating that there are people who have seen things they just can't come forward because their lives are in danger. Okay, it's a lie, and they're doing it because they're making money doing it. They're financially secure doing it. Now, I will tell you, there's one Hail Mary that's left. There is. There's one Hail Mary that's left. It's, it's a long shot. It would require a miracle. But it's there, and Donald Trump knows it's there. And, well, I'll show it to you because it might be a little familiar to you. It should be familiar to you once I jog your memory about it. But in the meantime, let me just say this. Donald Trump is tweeting that he wants to call off the special election in Georgia. He wants to call it off. Why? Well, he's insinuating that Georgia was so corrupt that if there wasn't this massive fraud in Georgia, that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler would have been reelected. And so there would be no need for a special election. Even though neither of them got 50% of the vote. But let me tell you, this is what we depend on.
Clear for takeoff. Randy Rhodes Air Fatality. This is the Randy Rhodes Show. To speak with Randy, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
As the pandemic worsens, many Americans are also facing a desperate economic plight. But Congress has been at a stalemate for months over a relief bill. Nancy Cordes is on Capitol Hill. Nancy, key protections for millions are due to expire by the end of the month. Is there any progress at all?
Well, there is now, Anthony, this bipartisan group of senators, about 8 to 10 of them, who are trying to revive negotiations and come up with some kind of stimulus deal before the holidays. But I have to tell you, it is a very tall order. They would have to figure out a way to bridge the gap between the $500 billion package that Senate Republicans want and the $2 trillion that House Democrats have proposed. Now, on Capitol Hill today, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is going to testify that the pace of economic recovery since pandemic lockdowns has moderated. It has slowed. That's why this is such a critical debate. And Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is also going to testify. He's going to urge Congress to pass a bipartisan bill to distribute about $450 billion in unused funds from the March CARES Act. Now, a bill that size might include more funding for business loans and grants, but it probably wouldn't include another round of stimulus checks or a boost in unemployment insurance. That is something that is very important to Democrats. But on the Senate floor yesterday, the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, urged Democrats to take what they can get at this point. He argued essentially that half a loaf is better than no loaf at all.
So, do you know how sleazy this is? Do you know how slimy this is? Okay, so this is what Steve Mnuchin did. He clawed back $455 billion from the CARES Act that the House and the Senate passed back in March. Okay? And it sat there unused. It sat there unused. And now he's going to tell Congress to reappropriate what was already appropriated for us, okay, in economic relief during this pandemic, and then declare victory by saying we passed half a law. You know, this is so sleazy. It is so underhanded. It is such a bamboozlement of the American people. So here we have a Joe Biden incoming administration with an economic team, an all-star economic team that not only is experienced in economics, but is experienced in the 2008 depression. You can call it a recession, but if you lost your house, okay, it was a depression. And they're ready to do this, but they need a Senate. They have a House, but they need a Senate. And that's why it all continues to come down to Georgia. And this special election in Georgia, it's going to determine whether or not relief and help is on the way, or whether or not the sleazeball McConnell gets to keep Joe Biden from being successful because, you know, McConnell wants to punish America because Donald Trump isn't the president again and he doesn't get his way with judges, or he becomes the minority leader, and that would really peeve him, you know? So we obviously need to win the special elections in Georgia. That is why Donald Trump is tweeting, and Donald Trump is begging Raffensperger, the Republican in Georgia Secretary of State, and Brian Kemp, the Republican governor of Georgia, to come along with him on this fraud routine, okay, so that Loeffler, who was never elected, she was appointed, okay, she filled Johnny Isaacson's empty seat, right, so she's never been elected to anything. These two criminals, these two people who have insider traded when they got their COVID briefings and neglected to tell Georgians that we had a pandemic on our hands, and instead called their brokers, or instead decided to call, you know, to get on the internet and do, you know, trades, eSwap, or whatever they... I mean, it's just so sick and sad. And here we have these two stellar people. We have John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, who are both, you know, completely, utterly down with the plan to get the relief out the door, the plan to fix what's wrong here, what's been wrong for 4 years, you know, and still you've got the forgotten man who is a Trump supporter still, and by supporter, I mean financially supporting Donald Trump at this point. God, the fraud is amazing. And some of them are going to boycott the Georgia election. Fine. I'm down with you. If you think there was fraud in the election in Georgia, and you're willing to support Donald Trump through his GoFundMe Forever claims of fraud and turning fraud into fraud, if you think that's a good plan for you and your go for it. Boycott. Don't vote. Don't vote. How many times have I told Trump supporters, just don't vote? Hold whatever beliefs you have to hold in your head in order not to explode with, you know, when the truth actually meets you. Just don't vote. Do me that favor. For the rest of us, get an absentee ballot. Request one. Georgia, by the way, you have to request another absentee ballot even if you voted in the last election. You don't have to re-register, but you do have to request another ballot unless you're, you know, elderly, or you're military, or you're in one of their exempt categories, and you don't have forever to do it. You don't have forever to do it. So I would suggest you get busy and just go on your Secretary of State's website or Georgia Votes or fairfight.org and get your absentee ballot. I will tell you right now, it's almost 940,000 absentee ballots for this special election in Georgia have already been requested. Now, why is that a big number? Well, for comparison, okay, 1,300,000 and change absentee ballots were cast in the November general election. So when you see almost 1 million absentee ballots being requested in Georgia, you got to know people are ready to win the Senate for us, for the entire United States of America in Georgia. Okay. So 1.3 million voted in the November election, and we're up to almost 1 million requested absentee ballots for the special election. This is all thanks to churches and Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight and people who, Act Blue, and all these organizations that are trying so hard to deliver for America a Senate that works for Americans instead of what we have now, which is Mitch McConnell pretending that the $500 billion that was already appropriated to you for us to recover, to isolate, to whatever from this pandemic, to endure during this pandemic, that he's presenting it as new money for you, and you should just take it and shut up about it. That kind of governing, and that isn't even governing, that's bamboozling, that's fraud upon the American people. I mean, it's just so bizarre that that's what they think is governing, that they would take the money that was already appropriated to go out the door to us, to help us. $1,200 stimulus checks, $600 a week in enhanced unemployment benefits, protection from eviction. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to pretend this is new money. This is not new money. This was your money to begin with. And they just sat on it. They sat on it, and then they clawed it back, and then they said, oh, reappropriate it and declare it new. People who are in Georgia, I'm telling you, Georgia, they've had 471,563 coronavirus cases. They've had almost 10,000 deaths from this virus, according to Johns Hopkins. And they are so ready to vote for their own best interests. And I would suggest that everybody vote for their own best interests. And like I said, if you think that there was fraud, even though Bill Barr, the U.S. attorneys, the FBI can't find any fraud, they can't find anything that would overturn this election. But Donald Trump realizes screaming fraud is a good game for him. He can sell things to you people after he leaves office, and that you should continue to support him for the rest of your life. If you think that's what you need to be doing, fine, just don't vote in Georgia. Don't vote in Georgia. But so far, it looks to me, oh, by the way, the deadline for voter registration, if you're not registered and you want to vote in this special election, is December 7th. Okay, so that's like a week from today. You'll start getting your absentee ballot
conspiracies. And other key conservatives who pressed
a bitter back and forth today between the president and two top Republicans in Georgia over his election conspiracies. The president is pressuring Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to use his emergency powers to overrule the will of voters, which is a Biden win there. Now, Kemp says the law prohibits him from meddling and that he trusts his Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who conducted an audit of the November vote and found no fraud. Now, Raffensperger again today said that the vote won't change, and he's warning the president that he's being swindled.
Once this recount is complete, everyone in Georgia will be able to have even more confidence in the results of our elections. Despite the massive amounts of misinformation that is being spread by dishonest actors. There are those who are exploiting the emotions of many Trump supporters with fantastic claims, half-truths, misinformation, and frankly, they are misleading the president as well, apparently.
Let's get straight to CNN's Kyung Line. Kyung, this is just the latest chapter in the book of Trump that is nonfiction, but nobody would believe if it were actually fiction. And it's really remarkable.
It's incredibly remarkable, and especially to see this volley going back and forth between the Republicans, the top Republicans in this state, with the president of the United States, who continues to talk about this myth about the election here not being valid. And let's take a look at what we're seeing now from the spokesperson of the governor, Brian Kemp, who just released this statement saying, quote, Georgia law prohibits the governor from interfering in elections. The Secretary of State, who is an elected constitutional officer, has oversight over elections that cannot be overridden by executive order. So you have the governor now saying, I can't do this. The law prevents me from doing this. And while all of this is happening, Dana, a reminder that the Georgia Senate runoff is coming in just weeks, January 5th. And while Republicans go back and forth, it is the two Republican and senators who need their base to show up in order to hold on to the majority, the Republican majority in the Senate.
And they're suppressing their voters. They're telling their voters. And this attorney in Georgia, Lynn Wood, this is his name. Lynn Wood is telling Georgia voters to boycott the special election. Boycott it. And Donald Trump is telling people that he's going to cancel the Georgia election, the special election on January 5th, and that you don't need a special election on January 5th. What you need to do is exploit the fraud and overturn the election. And if you did that in his warped mind, he thinks that means Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue won back their Senate seats. The truth is, they did not. The truth is, neither of them got 50% of the votes. And in Georgia, if you don't get 50% or better, there's a runoff. And even if, I don't even know what he's thinking in his twisted mind, but he is tweeting like crazy to his dupes, to his, supporters who are going to support. I mean, these people that have given him all this money, $170 million, these are small donors. These are ordinary people. These are not the big money donors. The big money donors get what happened here and that it's over, okay? But the small donors are being told over and over and over again by opinion reporters on, Fox News, on this ridiculously trash network, OAN, and Newsmax, Chris Ruddy, who's now trying to compete with Fox News, is going to peel off the Fox News viewers and take them for himself. I mean, everybody's looking to make a buck off of these people who are literally the smallest of the donors who Donald Trump is exploiting for support, for financial support. And what's really creepy is he has it advertised as like some election you should give to support the lawyers, the legal part. And the legal foundation that he set up doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Swear to God. He sent out 500 emails to his supporters telling them, now it's urgent, we need your money now for the legal fund, but there is no legal fund. What there is a Trump super PAC. And a super PAC has very few limitations on how that money can be spent. And Donald Trump can take that money and use that money for himself. He could hold events at his properties with that money. He can pay for his own travel with that money. He can pay rent on his he could do whatever he wants with that money. There is no legal fund. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And now the real lunatic fringe are telling the voters, boycott the Georgia election. Fine. Do it. Do it. Meanwhile, the lieutenant governor and the governor of Georgia, they know Donald Trump is going down on Saturday. He's going to have a rally down there. Okay? And neither the lieutenant governor, Republican, or the governor, Republican, wants to have anything to do with him.
Will you or the governor be there when President Trump comes down to help campaign?
I've got a full day on Saturday. I'm not even sure of the president's travel descriptions, but I wish him the best of luck down here.
I got a full
and certainly
day.
hope he's able to get voters to turn out for Senator Loeffler and Senator Perdue.
Do you know if the governor will be there?
I'm not certain of the governor's travel schedule.
Oh my God. I got a full day on Saturday. I can't meet he's a lieutenant governor and he can't meet the president on Saturday because he doesn't want to meet the president on Saturday. I got a full day on Saturday. I can't be. Well, how about the governor? Is he going to go to this rally? Not really sure what his travel schedule is. You know, this is just bizarre. And I'm telling you, our future as a country, as people who are suffering with a pandemic, and we'll have it with us until June, that it all comes down to a special election in Georgia. But it's true. That's what it comes down to. It's true. Tina in Maine.
Hi.
Hey.
So I was looking through the TV stations because I'm watching live Michigan witnesses to voter intimidation and stuff, to the poll watchers and how they were treated. And I hear you say to Trump supporters not to vote. Now, I understand that that's in response to what Lynn Wood is saying. However, I know that you have a much different reason for saying what you're saying.
Well, why
and
is,
as I listen to you,
why is Lynn Wood saying it? Why is Lynn Wood asking people to boycott an election?
Because your election in Georgia, I don't know if you're from Georgia or not, but you're talking like you are, has so much fraud.
There's no fraud.
Then why did they wipe the machine?
They didn't
Why
wipe.
not?
They
just
didn't. They didn't wipe the machines.
Well, the news is.
How many times does Trump have to win? Have to lose Georgia? I mean, he's lost it 3 times now, right? You had the original vote.
You recounted votes that were already counted that shouldn't even be there.
Then you had a.
Why isn't that state having?
Then you had a hand recount of the paper, right? And then you had another machine scan, and they all produced the exact same thing.
Well, they're going to if you count the illegal votes as well.
What illegal?
Now, why isn't Georgia having hearings like Arizona and Michigan?
What proof do you have? There are no hearings. These are in a hotel. These are Rudy Giuliani's.
This one isn't. Michigan is not. If you were what?
It's not. It's in a hotel, okay? Rudy Giuliani, who is bizarrely corrupt, is sitting in a hotel calling Trump supporters to swear to things that they saw, but they weren't there. They weren't there. All of these counting rooms were streamed on live TV. You could see them. In fact, I saw them. You saw them. Now you're saying you didn't see them. And they're telling you didn't see them, so you believe that you didn't see it?
Clear for takeoff. Randy Rhodes Air Force. RandyRhodes.com.
Love for the poor. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
Don't give up.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randy Rhodes Show.
The Washington Post reporting this morning that President Trump has raised more than $150 million since Election Day to fund his attempts to overturn the election results. Meantime, in Arizona, President Trump's legal team fighting a losing battle, still pushing conspiracy theories about widespread fraud without any evidence.
I call this the McCarthy era on steroids.
President Trump even calling into that meeting between his lawyers and lawmakers in Arizona.
We got 74 million and we didn't win.
Arizona's Republican Governor Doug Ducey officially naming Joe Biden the winner there on Monday.
We do elections well here in Arizona. The system is strong, and that's why I have bragged on it so much.
That prompting the president to take fresh aim at Ducey overnight, tweeting, "What is going on with Doug Ducey? Republicans will long remember." And the president is lashing out at Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp after the governor and Georgia's Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger refused the president's calls to overturn the election results after Biden was certified as the winner there more than a week ago. Raffensperger speaking out on Monday.
There are those who are exploiting the emotions of many Trump supporters with fantastic claims, half-truths, misinformation, and frankly, they are misleading the president as well, apparently.
Unbelievable. This president is literally killing the idea that America has free and fair elections. And we do. And there are many, many people on that wall that make sure that we do. Many people. And Donald Trump threatens every single person, the U.S. attorneys, the FBI. He's now trashing Bill Barr because Bill Barr said today that they have followed every lead, that there was no evidence of any illegal voting. There was no evidence of dead people voting. Even Tucker Carlson apologized because he was on the TV saying dead people vote. And then the news organizations went out and found the dead people, and they weren't dead at all. They were very much alive. I mean, just spreading lies in order for people to support Donald Trump financially is just so, like I said, he turns his failure into economic success. Anybody want a Trump steak? Anybody want a Trump vodka? Anybody want to, every single thing airlines go bankrupt. He winds up making money off of failure. He's doing it to Tina in Maine. Oh my God, poor Tina. Wayne in Florida.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Hey, why are we chasing the down this rabbit hole with this guy? I mean, when he said Barack Obama wasn't a U.S. citizen, it was like, you can't believe the investigators, what they're finding, and that was all nothing. And then when he lost by 3 million votes, he recruited Kobach to
look for election fraud
from a committee, and that went nowhere. And now he's saying the same thing again. Oh, you can't believe the fraud I'm finding. I mean, come on.
Right.
America just has just too much of a short attention span, and then just can't remember 3 months ago when he said all this stuff. I mean, come on.
I know.
All right.
I know, but there is a Hail Mary. This is what I was getting at before. There is one final desperate move that Donald Trump can make. A desperate move. But don't put it past him. When he was on Maria Bartiromo the other day, just lying for 45 minutes. Lying about fraud and about this and about that. And she was like a bobblehead. There will be a Maria Bartiromo bobblehead. She was just, yes, this is disgusting. This cannot stand. Yes. I mean, just tarnishing any respectability that she ever accumulated in 25 years of being a broadcaster, right? I mean, it was the most bizarre, heinous thing I'd ever seen in my life, where he's just like literally, putting like heroin straight to the vein of his supporters, and he is the opiate of the masses now, right? He is. Well, opium is the opium of the masses. I mean, people are addicted to weird stuff now, and they believe anything he says. But anyway, there is a Hail Mary. There is one last thing he can do. The Electoral College, as you know, votes for president on December 14th, 2 weeks from today. The Electoral College will vote. Now, when they vote in their